The Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Indianapolis Colts 27-20 as the Steelers defense showed their plan can work even against the number one offense in the NFL. I'm Chris Carter. This is the Locked On Steelers podcast. We're going to break it all down here today. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the number one sportsbook in America. Right now, if you're a new customer signing up for FanDuel, you can bet $5. And if you hit on their first $5 bet, you get $300 back in bonus bets. We'll have more on them later. As we always do on this show, on the Locked On Steelers podcast, if I pick the Steelers to lose and they win, I must wear the bag of shame to open the show, which I am doing right now because the Pittsburgh Steelers are victorious. They win 27-20 over the Colts. Get this thing off my head. Thank you, Steelers fans. It's a victory Monday. The Pittsburgh Steelers did their job, dismantling what was the number one offense in the NFL heading into Sunday. I had to get the bag of shame off my head before I said victory Monday. But Steelers fans, realistically, I know there's going to be people out there that are super negative. They're saying, this win wasn't that good. That 6 turnovers, you only won by 7, even though 10 of those points were in garbage time. They were up 17 points with 5 minutes to go. The game was practically over already. It was over. There was no way they were coming back. This was a very good win by the Steelers team, especially because the defense was the engine that drove it, which hadn't happened for a little bit now, and against what objectively is a really good offense. Even if you were one of the people that was saying before this game, I don't know if the Colts are as good as they think they are or as good as the numbers say they are. There's no doubt that they are still doing things the right way. They were an extremely efficient offense, and the Steelers took that away in this game. They took away Jonathan Taylor, who was the number one running back in football. People were saying this guy's on an MVP pace. He had 800 plus yards of rushing already. He was running like crazy over everybody. 14 carries, 45 yards, not a factor in the game. In this game, Daniel Jones, he wasn't Danny Dimes anymore. He was Indiana Jones. He was the man. 31-50, did get 342 yards, did throw a touchdown pass, but threw 3 interceptions. The Steelers defense taking advantage of it. And of course, the defense, the pass rush, returning. A lot of people saying they're cooked, they're washed. Trey Jollis Highsmith, he gets 2 sacks and a forced fumble. TJ Watt's washed, get him out of here. Sack, forced fumble. Keanu Benton's a bum, get him out the starting lineup. He gets a sack. Just pressure from so many different areas. Payton Wilson, Joey Porter gets a sack and an interception in this game. Payton Wilson, who, my opinion, might have been the player of the game for this team because he was all over the field. He gets an interception, tips another pass that leads to an interception. This was a really good performance by this defense. They were on their cues. They were reading their keys. They were taking away what the Colts wanted to do. And again, against an offense that was extremely efficient and really good at trying to get teams to do things that they didn't want to do, manipulating linebackers. None of that was a factor in this game. That was a huge performance. And especially coming off of what have been 2 very lackluster performances by the defense against the Bengals and against the Packers, and big questions about the future of this team and can the Steelers defense figure anything out? They're just going to be bad all year, and they deliver this kind of a performance. Truly important, but not just because of the game itself, but I think it showed there is leadership. There is life within this team. There is a fight that exists. Cam Heyward called this defense out last week, and you see a response like this. But it wasn't just Cam Heyward. I was talking to guys in the locker room, and they were saying leaders were stepping up and saying things. And Aaron Rodgers revealed Jaylen Ramsey said something last night to the whole team that got the team fired up and had a different vibe when they arrived to Acrisure Stadium Sunday morning. Here was Aaron Rodgers when he was talking about that in the postgame press conference.
There are a couple defensive players that they felt like they were bringing a different energy in practice this week going into this game. Did you notice a sense of urgency or more aggression, more energy throughout practice this week?
No, I didn't. But I noticed message last night when Jaylen spoke. And it's not easy to speak in front of the team, even when you're a player. It's unnatural, and coaches are used to it because they do it every single day, and Mike is fantastic at it. But Jaylen kind of went on and had the attention of the room, and he said some really, really good stuff. I'm not going to get into it. I feel like that it's kind of need to know information. But it was meaningful to me on the offensive side, and I feel like we had a different energy in the locker room today. Now, all week, I don't pay super tight attention to that side of the ball all times in practice, but I do feel like in the locker room pregame, there was a different energy for us, and they played really well.
That defense being as fired up as it was, I think is a really good sign. And again, this is a defense that was shorthanded coming into this game. Their safety room was depleted. Deshaun Elliott is on IR. We don't know when he's going to be back. Kyle Duggar really had just 2 practices with the Steelers this week that he was just catching up to the defense. One of those practices was the Friday walkthrough practice where they're not able to hit. They have to kind of go through the motions a little bit, and he filled in well. Jalen Ramsey played free safety all game in this game, and he was in good position. I think the Steelers may have found something that may work for them moving forward, even if they move Ramsey out of the free safety role and they're able to put another person there. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode because the trade deadline's coming up and free safety should be a target. But that's another story for another day, because this defense, I thought, did a really good job taking things away. Kyle Duggar also deserves a ton of credit. He got a game ball from Mike Tomlin because he was consistently in his position. He was doing his job. And as Cam Heyward will later say in the show, because we got him as well in the Steelers locker room, when you don't hear his name, it means he's doing his job, and he was in position, not getting exploited. This defense did what it was supposed to do. But I think a really, really good sign for this defense's potential is that they made their plan work. What is their plan? Their plan is to take away the run, win with their pass rush, force you into big mistakes to get turnovers. And there's times this year where you can at least reasonably question, be like, hey, didn't work against the Bengals, they ripped you apart. Didn't work against the Packers, they ripped you apart. So what if it worked against the Browns? They stink. Carson Wentz, backup quarterback. Now, it also worked against the Patriots, who also looked pretty good. But so you need to put it on tape that you could do it against a really good offense, a really good team. And unless everyone wants to pretend like they weren't predicting the Colts to massacre the Steelers, I thought the Colts would beat the Steelers. I didn't think they'd massacre them. But unless everyone wants to pretend now that this wasn't a game that the Colts were favored in, they just did it to a really good offense. And I think there's a confidence that can be had with this. If this defense buys in to the plan and how to execute it, that can lead to more wins, better play on defense, and ultimately this team being better than what is shown so far, even as they sit 5-3 in their division, the 4 seed in the playoff race right now, and 2 games ahead of the Ravens. Here was Payton Wilson in the Steelers locker room talking about that plan and how it is seeing it come together when they take away the first read, when they take away the run, what this defense can be. Listen to Payton Wilson in the Steelers locker room.
Patrick Queen talked about the importance of taking away the first read, and you guys did that a lot more today. What went into the effort to do that against Shane Steichen's offense that does a really good job at disguising who that is?
Just execute. In the past, when those quick reads have been there, either myself or somebody else on the defense has been just a bit out of position. So just executing. I mean, if we can get these quarterbacks off the first read, you see what the D-line does. I mean, we have TJ, Herb, Alex, Cam, Keanu, D-Harm. It's a very, very good defensive line. So if we can just get the quarterback to hold it for half a second longer, that's a product that you'll see.
How important was it to shut down the run to allow those pass rushers to get home?
I mean, that's every game. Obviously, it was a big emphasis because Jonathan Taylor was coming in town, but you have to do that with every team. Every team that comes in is going to try to establish the run, and if you're able to shut that down, that's when you get them in one-dimensional football, and you can pin your ears back and watch the boys eat.
It's what we've been talking about on this show for the past few weeks. If they stuff the run, if they take away the first read, they needed to do a better job of that, they can get it done. And what was the first thing that Payton Wilson said to answer my question? Just execute. He talked about execution, which is what we've been talking about. The play calls have been there. That's not the biggest problem. There are some times I think they could be smarter with their play calls. They can set things up. I think that the more use of maybe some cover 2 looks, 2 high shells may have helped the defense in this game. But the bottom line is you have to be able to execute and win your matchups. And the Steelers did consistently throughout this game. And I think that is a vehicle the Steelers can use to move forward and say, hey, guys, look what happens when we don't play hero ball. Look what happens when we stick to our assignments. Look what happens when we read our keys, we stick to it, and we don't give up on plays. This is the this defense has the potential to be really good. And again, this was an offense, and I believe it was Matt Speck on Twitter who pointed this out, that like efficiency-wise, the Colts coming into this game had like the 8th highest efficiency rating in the history of since they started tracking offensive efficiency stats. That's how like smooth they are. Shane Steichen is one of those coaches that people say, oh, he gets the analytics, he gets the understanding of the new age confounded offense that's going to lead the path to the future of the NFL. And they took that away. And I think that there is a good sign for this defense here that shows the Steelers can be that team that causes problems as a defense and doesn't have to just play catch-up ball with the offense like it started to look like the last 2 weeks like they might have to. That's a really good sign. I want to talk more about this defense, especially Payton Wilson, because I thought he did so many of the right things in this game, as well as other guys on this defense. We'll talk about all that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends over there at Peloton. Look, folks, it's time to break through the busiest time of the year with a brand new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus that's powered by Peloton IQ. It's Peloton's most elevated technology and equipment yet that gives you real-time guidance, and it gives you endless ways to move, whether you want to work out by yourself or if you want to work out with your favorite instructor, like my personal favorite, Alex Toussaint. He always gets me fired up to tackle the day. And the thing I like about Peloton, it helps me achieve more in less times. They have features that help you plan, stay motivated, track your progress, and Peloton IQ also provides personalized workout plans and recommendations. That's something that I use right now during the busiest time of the year covering the NFL. They plan my workouts for me based on my mood, my vibe, and also my favorite instructors. So make sure you check it out and use it, because it also helps you correct your form in real time, and it maximizes your reps. It counts your reps so that you can do it smarter, safer, and more efficient. Let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton cross-training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today, and you can see parts on your doorstep tomorrow with over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts fast for a project, Supply House has next-day delivery, which can be a true game changer when you're up against the clock trying to get things done. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their trade master perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. Join the free trade master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and dedicated support lines. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Chris Carter here, back on the Locked On Steelers podcast. We continue our Victory Monday podcast for you Steelers fans out there. Let's talk more about this defense. We're going to get to the offense because there's some questions there, but I think solvable questions. And I think, if anything, the defense solving its problems this week should show you that this team isn't going to take it lying down, that they are going to keep searching for answers, and there is the capability for doing so. Now, looking at the defense in this game, again, you see what happens here. There were several plays where the defense was all over the run game. They made sure, hey, we're going to get in our gaps. We're going to take on guys smarter ways. We're going to stop what was a really, really good, and I'm not saying really enough, I could say really about 10 more times. This offensive line for the Colts had been dominant. They had moved people around, and it didn't matter. And that's a really good sign for this Steelers defense, is if they can stop this rushing attack, they can stop most rushing attacks. And that's a really good sign. And again, this isn't a team where they just run the football. This isn't a team where it's just about running it, and if you stop the run, that's it. they have been so good at passing. We even talked to Zach Hicks of Locked On Colts on Crossover Thursday, who said they're passing to set up the run. So it's honestly the pass game that's killing you too. And they didn't, and they dig up some plays in the pass game, because there are things that in today's NFL, you do have to give up something. There's something that's like, hey, if this offense does this well, kudos, you got that. But you may do that well, but you won't do these things well, and that'll allow us to make big plays and eventually stop you where we want to stop you. And the Steelers did that in this one. Again, 6 turnovers, 5 of them which came on defense, 1 came on special teams. This was a game where I felt the Steelers defense was finding answers, and Payton Wilson was a big part of that. And I want to get to him more in a sec, but I want you to listen to Cam Heyward talking about this defense and this team. We showed him last week, and he had the disappointment of how he said they did not respond well to adversity. Listen to him this week talking about the defense and what they did right.
Cam, a lot of talk was said about trying to take away the first read of this offense. What did you guys have to do that consistently in this game?
I don't know about the first read. I just thought we took away the run game and allowed us to, make them feel uncomfortable and go to their passing game early. Even if, they picked up a lot of yards on first down there in the pass, we were able to mitigate the run and, have 11 guys really focused in on that.
Shane Steichen has had a lot of success against this defense the past few years, but did you guys go over that film at all in your preparation? Did you guys particularly just focus on what they've been doing with Daniel Jones and this year's offense?
I think we've been watching it for the last, couple years we've been playing them. I have a lot of respect for those guys over there, and it's always a big-time matchup when we play them.
Was things simpler because of the new look you had on the back end with the new safeties?
We mixed things up front, but, we didn't want to put too much in Duggar's play. But I thought, the best thing about a safety is if you don't have to hear his name called a lot, it means he played pretty good. So, props to him for getting it done.
I know you're not a safety, but the one guy is not a safety by trade, played safety all game.
Yeah.
The other one shows up 3 days ago and played safety the whole game. What does that kind of say about their separate cases, but those 2 guys and what they did on it?
We'll make it work week in and week out. Whatever's required of the group. It's always been the motto. It doesn't matter how you got here. It doesn't matter if you've been playing a different position. If we can count on you, we'll count on you.
What things did you guys do well defensively tonight? You feel like you need to carry over going forward to replicate this kind of?
Stop the run. You watch our games. That's been a consistent theme that when we stop the run, it provides, not only our defense but our offense a lot more leeway. And then we had turnovers. Turnovers were big today, and we got to keep doing it.
Turnovers were big. And the Steelers, again, they got to their identity, because this Steelers team is not built on just trying to get, just stops. They want to make splash plays. They want to be playmakers. And Payton Wilson also talked about this. We played his clip a bit earlier about this. But one thing he said that, like Denzel Martin, the Steelers outside linebackers coach, who has very much injected into this turnover culture. But he says, like, one thing he draws up a cut up of players across the NFL making turnovers happen, and how big that is for their teams when they make it happen. And so it kind of helps the defensive vision. This is what we got to do for ourselves to give our offense a chance to win. And you look at how the turnovers changed the game for the Steelers. 3 drives in a row, the Steelers offense got the ball because of a turnover in the first half, a muffed punt, which they didn't turn into points. That was disappointing. And we'll get to that in the next segment, talking about the offense. But the forced fumble at TJ Watt, by the way, is TJ still washed? Is he still overpaid? No, it's just that he finally got some single man looks, and the team couldn't get the ball off in under 3 seconds, and he was able to get home and made one of the biggest plays of the game in his sack, forced fumble, and recovery in the backfield. The next drive, Payton Wilson gets an interception, and then off of both of those drives, you get touchdowns for the Steelers. Then in the second half, they only get 1 possession in the third quarter. They off of a punt, they punt the ball back. But what happens in the fourth quarter? They get another interception. They turn that into a touchdown. That's a big part of what the Steelers needed to do in this game, was to get those turnovers to happen. And that's why they preach it. And they want to get stops on their own. They want to have that as part of their repertoire. But they know that turnovers are a big thing in today's NFL that can win you football games. And in this game, it won them the football game, because they were able to create those turnovers. And again, attention to detail to set yourself up for the position of those turnovers. It's a structured design of how this defense is supposed to work. Don't let them run. Don't let them get the easy quick passes, and then eventually you force them into third and long, second longs where they're taking more risks. They're having to give you more chances to make plays, and then you're able to predict where they want to go a little bit easier than just when they're doing it. I think that's a big part of this. And again, I cannot stress how Payton Wilson was a big part of this plan. When you go back and you look at some of the big plays he was making, even the little plays where he was just knifing in and bringing a guy down in the backfield. Patrick Queen too also had a really good game, and he's going to talk here in a sec. But when you look at how this game was played from start to finish, when they were running around, even when Payton Wilson wasn't making a tackle in the run game, if it was a pass game, if a guy was on him, he was bringing them down immediately. The Colts came into the league with the 7th most yards after the catch. I don't know what their total yak was for this game. That's not a stat that I was able to compute before I did this show. But I can't imagine it was too much, because I felt like the Steelers were tackling a lot pretty consistently when the Colts caught the ball. They were able to get the ball through the air a little bit, but as far as yak, they limited that. Payton Wilson did a great job there, and then he just stuck to his role and did his job to make plays. And this is what we had been talking about. You can create turnovers while sticking to your role and being able to do your job. And the first one that he gets is an interception where he's just playing his zone. And because Daniel Jones is so flustered and he's not seeing the things that he normally gets to see, and they're taking away the first read, he makes a quick judgment. It's the wrong one. Throws it right to Payton Wilson. He catches it, gets a really good return out of it. Then his second turnover that he contributed to, that the Steelers send the right blitz. He's in the right gap. Daniel Jones wants to throw behind the blitz, but Payton Wilson's too tall, jumps up, bats the ball in the air. Jack Sawyer, who's in the backfield as well, picks it off, and it's another Steelers turnover. This is huge for the defense to get these types of plays. Also, shout out Joey Porter Jr. for his late interception. I thought he did a great job jumping that pass. But between Alex Highsmith getting 2 sacks and forcing his turnover, by the way, again, he is not washed. He is not cooked. Keep playing him. Him, Herbig, and Watt are a heck of a rotation. You do not want to break that up. But you have all this. Again, it fits into the structure. You saw the pass rush. You saw the run stuff. You saw eventually the secondary being able to prey on the football a little bit more. This is the kind of stuff it feeds off of. And again, I can't stress enough how good Payton Wilson was to make that happen. Here was Patrick Queen talking about just how good Payton Wilson was.
What can you say about Payton Wilson's effort? Tip pass for interception, got his own interception, was all over the place.
Yeah, he's a dog. I mean, it's finally coming to light. The dude is a steady grinder. Every single day he comes into work. He never wanders off on anything. He always got 10 toes down trying to work and get better. So, I don't expect nothing less. He got a freaking drug test right now. So I know, I told him they come when you ball, and every time you ball, they're going to start hitting you. So, but I'm proud of him, bro. I can't be any happier for my guy.
Payton maybe had a few struggles early in the season with run defense. Just talk about you mentioned the grind, right? Just coming back and working every day. What do you see from him as a pro? Yeah,
it's what we all seen when he first came in. The guy is a high energy, high effort guy, really smart. Every single day he come to work, you don't wander off on anything. So like I said, we all knew it, and we finally glad to see it. And when he played like that, they get the whole team going to do it. It's a animal, man. I love it, bro. I'm so hyper for him. Every single time I see him make a play, bro, I get excited. I try not to get too overly excited, but I'm happy for him.
So there you have it. Patrick Queen being so happy he can't stop himself from dropping cuss words on my show that I have to edit later. But in all seriousness, I look at this game. I mean, Payton Wilson all over the field, 13 tackles, 9 of them solo. For all those who understand that. But you saw that Joey Porter Jr. getting 8 tackles, a sack, and got his hands on 4 different balls. One of which was an interception. Heck of a job on his part. Payton Wilson also getting his hand on 2 balls. And then Jalen Ramsey, I think just being in position as constant as he was, and even with that hit at the end of the game where he got flagged for, you could see it was kind of like that demeanor hit. Like we are the hunters again. We came here to be a physical defense, and we are being that today. And there's plays like that I think can be a really good sign for the Steelers moving forward, that they can make these plays. And again, there were plays everywhere. Cam Heyward batted 2 passes down. He had 4 tackles. Alex Highsmith with his 2 sacks in this game. He also had another tackle for loss against the run. Looked really good there. Also broke up another pass and forced a fumble. Keanu Benton got a sack in this game and 5 tackles. It just, there were contributions all across the board. This defense has the potential to do this stuff when they execute what's the plan in front of them. And again, this wasn't the Browns that they did this to. This wasn't some low team. This wasn't some really bad offense. This was the number 1 offense in the NFL in points, in yards, in efficiency, in everything. And they were they took that away from them. This defense deserves credit, and we're going to examine more of this in the All-22 for our grade segment tomorrow that we do with Alan Saunders each week. But we got to talk about the offense because despite the win, and I guess not despite the win, in the face of this win, they got the job done at the end of the day. But they know it wasn't the cleanest. Let's talk about what the offense needs to improve at, but why I think there's a lot of signs why they will improve on those things next year on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I remind you, this show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the #1 sportsbook in America. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to bet on all the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you could combine your live bets with a same game parlay for your shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving customers $300 in bonus bets when you hit on your first bet of $5 or more. So head to FanDuel.com today. You can sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue our episode here today, breaking down this Steelers 27-20 win. Let's talk about this offense because, again, the offense did enough of the job to get the win. They got 27 points on the board. You're not mad at that, but you do wish you put them away a little bit better. And when you talk to Aaron Rodgers after the game, I didn't get to his press conference in time to get this part because there's always the balance. The press conferences are going on at the same time as the locker room, so you're trying to do both. And so I missed the first two things he gave, but the first two answers he had, I thought were just another sign of why Aaron Rodgers has been this MVP level, high level thinking quarterback, because he does not settle for just winning. He wants to improve with every game. He keeps his highs, his lows. He keeps his highs from being too high, his lows from being too low, and he tries to always focus on what's coming next. So I'm going to read out the transcript as far as how Aaron Rodgers answered these first two questions. So the first question was, Aaron, when you play like a team, score points, how is it important to you to convert those turnovers into touchdown, which you did 3 straight times? And he says, quote, "Did we really? We started off pretty slow. It was pretty ugly on offense for a decent part of the day, had a lot of chances, but our defense played incredible after getting blasted for the last week. Really proud of them. Thought the energy was great, but there was a good message last night by Jaylen Ramsey, and I think the guys responded well." And he talked about that Ramsey message earlier as we showed in the show. But then he said also, when asked about the play calling, he did not put it on the play calling, as some people always try to put it on play calling. He says, quote, "I love the play calling. I thought the execution was pretty bad. We've got to look in the mirror and play better on offense because that's not good enough. Any phase, me, run game, catching the football, defense played incredible. In a game like that, we've got to put up 35, 42 on the board and close the game out. So good tape for coaching staff when you win a game, and you've got a lot of work to do," because he's saying like, hey, we got a good tape because we did win, so we can celebrate that, but we still have a lot of things to clean up. And I agree with that sentiment. Like when you win a football game and you say, hey, we have this much to improve, that's a good sign that like your potential, you have not reached your ceiling. You have not reached it. Like the Steelers beating a 7-1 team that was number 1 in the NFL in so many stats and in the standings, and you beat them soundly. I know that people are going to look at the scoreboard and say, oh, it was only 7 points, but this was a defeated team. And even Jake Arthur of Locked On Colts said, which afterwards, he's like, it's the score says 7 points, but this was not a 7-point loss. This was a beatdown. And the Steelers did that to this team, and that's where they needed to be better to put them away even further. So it was a bigger deficit in the scoreboard for the Colts to try to come back against. But again, I look at this offense and I see the mistakes that happened in this game. You think back to, again, just needing to clean up things here and there. The turnover on downs they had after the muffed punt, where, they just didn't get the push they wanted up front for the run game. And then they try to pass to Darnell Washington over the middle. That doesn't work. And then you try the quick slant where Aaron Rodgers just puts a little too much heat on it. Darnell Washington isn't looking for it, and he can't get his hands on the football, and it's a missed opportunity. They get that touchdown alone, like tack that on, and you're talking about what it would have been like 31 34-7 in the fourth quarter at one point. Like that's the difference in this game when you look at it. And then just other opportunities they had on the very first drive of the game. They call play action. Everything's lined up for them. Johnny Smith just drops the play action ball. They have those moments to clean up. But here's the thing about all of that, between the run game not being as successful, and look, they did the job when they got inside the 5-yard line when they came to running the football. Jaylen Warren did get his first 2 touchdowns of the year. He hadn't scored a touchdown before. Now he has. But ultimately, you're not happy with him just getting 16 carries and getting 31 yards. That's less than 2 yards per carry. The Colts did a really good job taking that away. And in general, the run game was not a threat. But despite the run game not being a threat, despite the passing game not like being on fire, despite the drop passes, the missed opportunities, this team still put up 27 points. Partially because of his defense, but also because Aaron Rodgers, I think, is really good at deciding where to go with the football. And he understands they can be even better. That should be very encouraging to Steelers fans that are saying, hey, is this as good as this team's going to get? It might be. I'm not saying they definitely will be better, but I see so much potential still on the field for this defense, for this team, not just the defense. Defense as well. I still think this wasn't the best game the defense can play. I think it might be the best game the defense has played, or maybe the Patriots game. That actually might be the real best game that the defense has played. But bottom line is this team has more potential than I think people give it credit for, especially if you're trying to downplay this win. And I think, again, you look at the AFC right now, and you wonder, normally when the Steelers beat a team and beat even a good team, there's the saying out there, oh, well, they can't beat the best teams in the conference. But I believe if you look at the AFC standings right now, the number 1 seed in the conference is the Indianapolis Colts at 7-2, and tied with them at 7-2 are the New England Patriots, who currently sit at the 2 seed. And the Steelers have beaten both of those teams, and by the formula which they live by, which is stop the run, make plays in the turnovers, and hold them off late, which they did to both of those teams. And in both of those games, I say the offense didn't play their best versions of themselves, and they left points on the board. If this team does get to play some of those more complete games down the stretch, I do think this Steelers team can take it to some of these other teams in the AFC that are on their schedule, including which a big playoff implications matchup against the Chargers next week, who are 6-3 and sitting in a wild card position in a very competitive AFC West right now. I mean, the fact is right now is that if the playoffs started today, the Chiefs would not be in the playoffs because they're 5-4, and granted, like, tiebreakers have to happen and bye weeks and such and all that. But this Steelers team is playing really well, and if they can stay healthy, they're not healthy right now. They're dealing with a lot of injuries, but if they can avoid more major injuries to players, to key players, if they can continue to grow on both sides of the ball, which I think they can because they have youth on both sides of the ball. They have they have things that they're developing on each side of the ball. There's some really good opportunities. And listen, there's still your boneheaded mistakes. Roman Wilson shouldn't have been jumping on a obvious converted second and short situation. They had the game lined up for them. But again, youthful mistakes. Darnell Washington not looking for the ball in that spot in the red zone. These are things that are very fixable on your own. These aren't miracles that have to happen. Just like I said about the defense, and I think that should be the other encouraging part about this, is that if you were one of those people that thought the defense looked hopeless, like there was nothing to glean, there was nothing to be happy about. This defense was just doomed to be bad all season, and they were never going to fix anything. And then you see this turnaround of a performance from them. I think that should show you that the offense could probably do something similar, even if it wasn't a terrible performance. They were sloppy. They made some big mistakes, but they still came out on top. This should show you that this team can turn things around. They can adjust to what other teams are doing, and they can be the team that wins today. Because I'll say it straight up, Mike Tomlin outcoached Shane Steichen in this game. They took away what he wanted to do. He couldn't find the adjustments to get things going in time, and they were able to do it. And they did it in a way that I didn't think was the path for them to win this game. I thought if you had told me before this game that the Steelers' top running back, Jaylen Warren, averaged less than 2 yards per carry, I would have said they gotten dog walked. I was like, they would have been destroyed. But no, the Steelers found other ways to win on offense. Their defense found ways to win that I wasn't sure that they'd be able to turn around so quickly after 2 bad performances, and they did that. And I think that that's something that shows that this team can adjust. This team can move. This team can win in different ways. And it's the teams that can win in a wider variety of ways that often find more ways to win and find themselves competing better in January football. We still have to go over the All-22. We still have to go over all that and do our stars and skulls grades, and we'll do that for tomorrow's episode, which will have Alan Saunders. So stay tuned for all of that on the Locked On Steelers podcast. But Steelers fans, your team just beat a pretty good squad in a big time matchup that keeps the Steelers 2 games ahead of the Ravens. Your team's sitting in first place in the AFC North, coming off a really good win against a really good football team. Celebrate this victory Monday. It's a really good feeling to have. We'll have more for you later this week on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, wherever you get your social media handle. My handle is always at Carter Critiques. You can read my work in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by going to post-gazette.com. You can find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to this channel to get all of my daily content here on the Pittsburgh Steelers.